Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Unscripted and Unchoreographed. I'm your host, Neve, and I am very excited today to have the one and only Chander. How did you get started in the arts? Was it something you were very young, or maybe you just fell into? Was your family in the arts?
No, I'm the only one in the arts of my family, but I started quite young. My mom always told me when she saw me in kindergarten, she already saw me dancing on the beat. So it was very easy and very soon when my first dance class started. So yeah, I think my first dance class was when I was 5 years old. After a few years, I quit, but I was always doing something physical. I was doing gymnastics, ice skating, but then I went back to dancing again. And yeah, I started with street dance and then slowly started to do modern jazz and ballet, and I enjoyed that even more. So I went to the contemporary side and yeah, started doing my degrees, and here we are in London.
And you went off to study from the Netherlands to Trinity Laban in London. Could you maybe talk about your experience in Trinity Laban, and you did contemporary dance there? Yeah. Yeah. So maybe if just in case there's someone listening who might be interested in getting into contemporary dance and doing it, what was the audition process like? Yeah, basically, what is it kind of like to study contemporary dance for 3 or 4 years straight?
I think the audition date was like in 2017. Then I got accepted in 2018, of course, a year later. So, of course, it's been a while, so they probably changed it. However, I had a ballet class, a contemporary class, an improvisation class, and then an interview. And of course, I'm from Netherlands, so I also need to do an English test if my English was good enough. So it was just a 1 day thing, and then yeah, you got selected or not, and I was. I did first my foundation year because my English wasn't good. So my foundation year was more based on working on my English for that year. And then I did my 3 year of bachelor. What I quite enjoyed having first the foundation year, because suddenly going from a very small town from the Netherlands to I don't know what the population is of London, 8 million or something, to a very big city, also in a different country. Foundation really gave me the opportunity to take the time to not firstly discover the university and see what the system is there and how it all works, but also gives me the opportunity to really discover London, how the tubes the system works there, those kind of stuff. And so yeah, I think foundation year was really about discovering and making sure I know everything, because indeed when I went to the bachelor degree, it was indeed already like a very quick turnaround, in a way of my first assessment was already in a few weeks. So, and you need to know this, and I think it would have been very overwhelming for me at that point of time. Yeah, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Trinity. They gave me loads of opportunities. Trinity Laban has a musical theater department, of course, a dance department, choreography, dance science, and music department. And what is so great about all those different sources is that you can collaborate with each other. And I was able to do that. So I had loads of collaborations with other musicians, dance science too. So I worked on their thesis, or for example, if they needed some information, and I will help them out. I was working with some choreographers who did a master there. So it just helped me to understand how the work field would work technically, how collaboration would work. So it really helped me to understand that industry besides my dance classes. I feel the structure was really, really interesting for me, how the structure of the schedule of the program Trinity Laban gave us was just ballet, different contemporary styles. We also had hip hop, what was quite interesting. I'm not sure it was in the second or third year that was added, but I think that was quite interesting to see contemporary in a different daylight, and see how that influenced your style and how you can integrate that into your body. Yes, I really enjoyed it. Of course, COVID happened. Yeah, that was interesting, dancing or doing ballet in your bedroom, but it worked out. I feel that Trinity really gave us like a good schedule during that time. We still had live musicians through Zoom, and what I feel it's still great because that's what we always also have in the normal classes, live music. What I found fantastic was every musician gives something else to the class, and still having that during Zoom or during COVID was great. Yeah, really enjoyed Trinity. I learned a lot from it, got great friends out of it, and also great collaborations. Yeah, I had a great time in there.
That is incredible that you had live musicians. Probably such like a important learning curve, because like in reality and in show, you're probably gonna have live musicians and kind of bounce off each other and learn from them. That is so cool. I have never heard of that.
No, it's amazing, like especially because not even the musicians change a lot. So even if we have the same class, there will be a different musician the next week, for example, or the next term or something like that. So even though we do the same exercise or something same, and we will do it on a different music so we understand what we can do in different rhythms and different beats. There was, but also loads of variety. Like there was a pianist, there was a drummer, there was a guitarist, there was electronic music, there was a DJ.
How was the kind of transition from the Netherlands to London?
Yes, of course, it was a transition. Things, how things work here is very different than the Netherlands. Of course, there are different systems, different way of communicating. Dutch people are very direct. English people are not very direct. That's already one thing, you know. No, like I've always been a city person. So even though I came from a small village, both of my college and university where I studied dance in Netherlands were both in a city. Not as big as London, but no, yeah, I didn't had any trouble with it. Maybe also indeed that I had time to that I slowly could integrate into the system of London. But I feel, yeah, no, I never had a problem with it. I still really enjoy London. I love that it's so big that almost every area has a different kind of vibe. Yeah, no, I never had that problem, I think, of that switch. No. Of course, the English barrier, like the language barrier, yes. But besides that, no, not really. No.
Brilliant. It's just London suits you. London suits you. So yeah, sorry, I was gonna ask if you had any advice to someone who's maybe looking to study dance in general, or looking to study in conservatoires, what advice would you have for them, or even your younger self?
Oh, what I always did is never audition for one university or conservatoire or college. Always spread your chances, because I remember that when I was studying in the Netherlands, or did audition in the Netherlands to study there, I applied for the four main universities or conservatoires in Netherlands. That is Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Utrecht. Yes, Utrecht, and oh no, sorry, not Utrecht. Tilburg and Arnhem. And I only got accepted in Tilburg. So, and it happened technically the same when I studied there for a year in Tilburg. Then I did a tour around Europe to audition around Europe for different other conservatoires and did many auditions. And I only got accepted in Denmark and in London. So that's how I ended up in London. Yeah, spread your chances, because even though you want to go to that specific conservatoire, college, or university, it doesn't mean that you end up there, because especially in dance, there are too many dancers and not many places. And it's the same as in a university, college, or conservatoire. So yeah, because what I always think is that afterwards you can, if you get accepted to someone that you didn't want to go to, next year you can still retry, because I think you can always, in England, you can still like submit or enter the next year's auditions. I think at least in Netherlands you can do. I think there's no limit to it, how many times you can apply to it.
I think that's really good practical advice. And I think yeah, I think that's really good advice. And maybe consider a gap year or foundation year.
I had a gap year also. I did loads of projects. That was a year that I wanted to change to become an actor. I was always interested in becoming an actor, or I had some thoughts about it. So it was like after I studied in the Netherlands, I had a gap year, and then I went to London. In that year, I did loads of projects, dance projects, but also acting projects, to see like where I want to go for the next year. Because I was like, am I done with dancing or not? I applied for acting programs at universities, got accepted by one, but then at that moment, my love for dance was still stronger than acting. So I was like, it's not the time yet. And if it's come, it will come. And if it's not, if not. So yeah, I'm still happy with that I made that decision, that I went to London to
You can
dance.
also do both. You are doing both.
Exactly. No, yeah, technically, yes, I do. Yeah, I won't, but I'm not a trained actor. I want to be very clear.
Have you noticed between the dance scene in the Netherlands compared to the UK?
Is there a difference? I think yes and no. I think the bigness of it. What I found so interesting about Netherlands, everyone knows each other. It's a big community, but a small community. You know what I mean? I still remember when I did auditions to all the universities and to start my career. I literally saw every time the same person, or the same people. And even when doing auditions for dance companies, I see the same people. I think it's all. I think what that's interesting about England is you have like kind of like suburbs, like little areas. Like it's not UK or it's not England, but you have London, you have Birmingham, you have Manchester, and like all the other cities and places. But I feel it's bigger. There is so much more to do here because of the West End, because of the movie industry, because of all the big theaters. So there are so many more opportunities, but also that means there are so many other artists that's fighting for the same place. And I feel in Netherlands, it's a little bit on a smaller scale. I think the companies that are there are very, very well, like they present very, very well, and they're making amazing work. But I think that's the difference for me. Yeah, I feel it's not, for me, it's not the whole England. It's more like places. And I feel with Netherlands, it's just maybe one big city that everyone knows each other. I think that's the difference.
That is so interesting because I think Ireland is quite similar. But I don't know why. I just would have expected the Netherlands to be, I don't know, a bigger industry. That's so interesting.
I think it's very international, Netherlands. I think UK also. Maybe after Brexit, not anymore, sadly. Um, but I don't know, it is weird because I just said that, but then when I did auditions, for example, in Copenhagen or Italy or I don't know, Germany, I also would see the same people sometimes. No, I had it one time, like, I had an audition in Copenhagen, met another dancer there. And then I think a few weeks later or something, I had an audition in Italy, um, and saw the same dancer again. And I was like, we literally, like, how? Yeah, I always found it great. But then suddenly you create a bond because we didn't really talk on the first audition. Like, I know he was a great vibe. But then suddenly when you see him the next time or see the dancer the next time, you had the connection because you saw them on the first audition. I was like, even though we didn't talk, we can talk now. I always found it fascinating how that works. Yeah, I found it interesting.
That's amazing because you're literally hopping different countries. Like, what are the chances?
It is.
I don't know.
But that's also make the art scene so scary in a way of like it's such, even in that, indeed, like internationally, it's such a small world, even worldwide technically. Like everyone knows each other, and that makes it sometimes scary, but also fun because then it's both. It's always pros and cons.
That kind of segues nicely into my next question in terms of how did you transition then from dance acting to movement directing and doing your master's in Central?
Yes. So yes, I graduated in 2022 for at Trinity Laban as a contemporary dancer. Worked for 1 year. Worked for 1 year, and then I found out that movement directing exists, and I always wanted to do something with acting in a certain way, and I always like creating. Um, creating stuff like choreographies and stuff. So when I found out, when I found out movement directing exists, I was working as a dancer. Yes, a dancer at Waterperry Opera Festival, and I met a movement director there, and he was from Central also. I think in his last year at that moment, and he told me everything about it, and I fell in love with it. I was like, that's exactly what I wanted to do. I want to combine acting with dance, just like movement together. And I really, really enjoyed collaborations from different disciplines, and I felt that movement directing, how he explained it, was that. And I think when I did a master, that also indeed came through. You're not only looking at movement, you're looking at the lights, the wardrobe. You work with the director, the actors. You're like the middle point of the middle point, if that makes sense. And I found it fascinating. But also looking at the difference between dancers and actors, how we work with consent and how we feel about it and how we manage it. That was my dissertation about it. I forgot about it. Yes, that was my dissertation.
I think it's so important in terms of working with bodies. Yeah, if you don't remember, it's no problem, but like I'm just curious to see, did you find anything out kind of interesting, or like was there a big difference between consent for an actor versus a dancer?
There was a huge shift for me, especially when I arrived at Central. I found out that you had to ask for everything. Like, even if I want to, I don't know. But for me, it's a very small thing. But of course, I understand that for other people, it's a very big thing. Like, even for holding hands or like put my hand on your shoulder, you had to ask consent for it. At that moment, I was like, really? You have to do that? Coming from a dance background where we literally roll over each other and lift each other in the air and do pardon work and contact improvisation work, I always been taught just to do it. Like, don't ask about, not ask about it, but my mindset and the teachers that I had, it wasn't really there yet. It shifted after COVID. I saw the shift even at my conservatoire. There was a shift, but it was just starting. And because of course you weren't able to touch each other, so how are you giving feedback to someone without touching? And they continued after COVID with that. And what I think is very good, because indeed, like when I was researching about my dissertation, indeed, do we need to touch that person in order to receive feedback? And I was like, no, you don't have to. There are so many other ways to share the information without any physical contact. But yeah, I think there was a very big eye-opener for me to see actors work and see how the class was designed to still be a learning environment without so many physical contact in order to receive the feedback. And yeah, that was a good eye-opener for me to have that. Yeah, so I was when I had that moment, I knew what my dissertation was about, and I wanted to learn more about it and see the difference in it, how we approach in different ways, but also how we can learn from each other. Because I feel that both how actors work and how dancers work are very, very separate. Like the way how we work, and I feel we can learn from each other with that.
I think I remember someone saying, and they were a dancer, they were kind of like, I think they were at dance school and they were told by their teacher, like a dancer is a body, it's a tool, and it can just be like manipulated. It's not a person. And I think that needs to change, because and there's something as well, I think it's because a lot of the time dance is non-verbal and consent needs to be verbal. We just assume that you'll do everything, and it's like, no.
It's difficult. It is very difficult because indeed, like our body is the art form, but same for actors. The body is the art form. But I also feel that sometimes in a healthy way, we sometimes need to be pushed in a very uncomfortable, not very, but in an uncomfortable situation in order to learn from it or to push yourself further as an artist. it's a balance of that. Like, how far can I push my students, or how far can I push myself to learn something from it without damaging myself or the other person? And I feel that's sometimes quite risky, because if you have a class of 20 people, everyone has their own challenges and how far they are able to push themselves without doing something negative. Yeah, but I feel there should be still be a way of be able to push that person in order to learn something out of it. And I feel that sometimes now we lose that, because we need to be in a safe space. But what is a safe space? Because there are 100 people watching us and judging us at the same time. So it's a very interesting.
I totally agree. I think as an artist, art is uncomfortable. It's the nature of it, it's and that is such a good point that you just said. Like, what is a safe space? I there is a theory that there is no such thing as a safe space. Everything is slightly dangerous. And I think that's not a bad thing. I think it's just, yeah, it's, I don't know, maybe just looking after each other. Um, and I think as well, with consent, I think the person needs to take some agency also, because consent is about empowering. So they need to feel capable of doing that in a space. And I think if they don't feel capable of giving consent, then that's where the problem is. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think art is kind of beyond certain things that and it's never really a safe space.
But also, like, indeed, like, you can start a session with, like, okay, this is how I feel today, and this is how I would like to, I don't know, like, in a consent way. But even during the class or during the session, each exercise is very, very different. If there's partner work, you're gonna change partners multiple times, because that's how you learn to work with different bodies, because everybody's body is different, heights, every size. And so, even though that with one exercise or beginning of the class, I was, I don't know, very happy with consent, but now with that exercise, and with also with that person, because of history or something else, I might do not feel comfortable in order to do that exercise anymore, or certain positions be placed on each other's body. So I feel that makes it very difficult. But I also feel there should be maybe a difference between, not a difference, but like a balance of, like, how far can a teacher support that, but how far, like, which responsibility is there, is the students and the teacher. But I feel also the teacher should lay out what we're going to do today to help them to figure out, like, okay, how will I feel about that? I think it's just try to stay open-minded and not judgmental about it. Quite difficult, I think.
Yeah, it is very difficult. It's like constantly juggling and trying to balance everything. And I think the thing is, we're only human, and as long as we're not like endangering people, I think we can only do our best. I wanted to ask now, in terms of like, because obviously you've graduated Central, what are you up to now? Any current projects, or is there any kind of like anything really interesting that you want to do in the future?
At the moment, I'm in Birmingham. I am working on a short movie. I'm a dancer in it, so that's what I'm busy with it now. We are on day 2 now, and it's going very, very well. I already know all the other dancers. I worked with them before, and I also worked with a choreographer before. So it's just like a nice little family to work with each other. So it's great. It's great. What I would like to do in the future, I'm very, very interested in movies, like creating I always still have a dream or have ideas to create a short movie, but I still, I would like to make one, but also just, like, be in the big movies, see as a performer, but also as a creator. I feel I just love how we can mislead the audience eye with movies, with how we create a movie and how we can bring the focus point of what we want the viewer to see instead of what's happening all around it. And I think that's fascinating, what the difference is between the shooting day and the end result, and I would like to learn more about that and see where that takes me. Yeah, I think since I did Central movement directing, I found short movies very fascinating because I worked with two students there. They did acting for screen, master also at Central. They were Renee Buttern and Davis Weavers. Davis Weavers. I was confused. But worked with them. She was a director and he was a producer. I was a movement director for that. They asked me to be a movement directing for their short movie. And I found it fascinating how that worked and their concept and the end result of it. It was like just working with different angles, like can create such a whole different dynamic on the screen. Yeah, really. And it's just a different way of working. Making choreography on stage is very, very different because that's very 2D in a way. It's just, like you sit in the audience and it's there. But with like film, like on the screen, you can work with every angle and it's a different dimension added to it. And I feel you can't always have that in theater. There's more and different opportunities what you can create in movie, and that's what I've found very interesting.
Well, you're definitely on the right track. I mean, you're in Birmingham making a movie. Yeah, totally. And which is great learning experience for you as a creator and what you want to do. I was kind of piggybacking off that. What is it like, or maybe the difference between like dancing on stage versus dancing on screen? Because, yeah, I think a lot of people talk about acting on stage versus acting on screen, but like I love watching dance on screen. I think it's just so I love it on stage as well, but I just think it's fascinating. I think it just like is otherworldly or something. So I've always wondered, what is it like for the dancer or choreographer? Or maybe what is the differences you've noticed?
I feel being on stage, the performance that I did, I never saw the audience because it's always like black, it's just a black hole over there and maybe you see the first two rows or something. But yeah, it's just a very like literally a black box and you're very in a zone and you know where to look and how to present, like there's an audience, so you present there if the choreographers ask you to do that. And after an hour or something you're done and you only have technically one take. You can't do it over because the next day there's a different audience. But with the movie, my experience is you need to know where the camera is and you change your positions to that in that way to make it more interesting or make it more visible or not visible. Yeah, what else? And it's also there is different focus points because as if you're on stage, they always see the whole picture. With the movie, they only see the frame of it. So where is the focus point? Or is the wide lens, is the like those kind of stuff. So that's also interesting to know, like where would I put my attention to it? Because if I know how he's going to shoot it, how would I react to it? Or how will I work with it? And I think what I said about how to present yourself, I think especially in the contemporary world, we are not always facing the audience. We can face, front, back, side. As if you're on stage in a theater, you just do a one take technically. It's a one take thing. But when you shoot a movie, you do takes over and over again because they want different things, or something went wrong with the camera light, or or I did it wrong. So you can repeat it, even though it's still a very tight schedule. Yeah, you can do it over and over again, but yeah, you can. I think that's interesting. You can do it. You will do the stuff multiple times to film it from different angles and stuff. But mostly with films, the whole period of time is shorter than theater work. Theater work is much bigger. You have a longer rehearsal period, longer running period, and with working on films, it's the opposite. Even though, yeah, that's what I've always found interesting. It's a faster paced.
Do you prefer one to the other, or
It really, really depends. I still love performing on stage, and and also love films. I think it depends on the project. Yeah, I can't say that. I don't know.
I think you're totally right. I think it probably depends on the project. And as well, it's nice to do both. I think it is. You know, you get a little bit of both. So, thank you so much, Chander. As our final question, we ask everybody this, but if you had a magic wand and could change something in the arts industry, or even like maybe not even be that big, or something that you noticed that maybe the government could do better to improve the arts industry, it could be as specific as dance, theatre, film, or something maybe you've noticed in another country that if it was implemented in, let's just say, the UK because you live there now, or the Netherlands because I know you still work sometimes over there. Yeah, is there or something you just really want that artists need that they don't have?
More money. I think that maybe everyone will say that. I think also maybe freedom for speech. Maybe it's a very touchy subject, but I feel we became very sensitive now, and that we are not allowed to give our opinions anymore in a good or bad way because we always hurt someone in some way. And I think it's good to have our opinions, and if you don't agree with it, let's just talk about it. Like, communicate, have a discussion, no argument, just a discussion about why you think in that way and why would I think in this way. And I feel we kind of lost that. It's now literally black or white, and it's like, if you don't have the same opinion about me, I can't be around you anymore. And I feel that's kind of what I see more and more often. And I think indeed the art is all about, you create something from an opinion point of view, what you believe in or what you want to research, and you create something through that own and put it on stage or put it on display. And yeah, I feel people have a very fast opinion about it, and then that's it. There's no communication or no discussion afterwards, and sometimes they miss the real point of why we create this work, or became very narrow-minded, maybe, if that's the right word. Maybe that's not the right word at all, but yeah, I feel that's more money and a little bit more like just freedom. Yeah, you don't, and also it's okay not to agree. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person or that they are a bad person. Like, just keep respecting each other, let each other live, do your groceries. So yeah, I think that's that.
Thank you so, so much, Chander, for your amazing insights and intelligence and passion. I feel like I just want to go do art now. Thank you so, so much. And I cannot wait to see what you do next.